Hey everyone. This when you hear and read about, just in the last decade since the Great Recession, you can't imagine, well, maybe you can, some of you maybe can, how many articles I've read where central governments and these central banks, wow, have they ever squandered and wasted like billions and billions and billions and billions, and if you include the US, now to the tune of trillions of dollars on foreign wars of aggression, propping up failing institutions and banks and crony and corrupt corporations and organizations. The amount of productive wealth, labor, and income that has been squandered and pissed away needlessly, and actually has caused things to get even worse. It's not even where you can say, well, at least there was some benefit. It's actually made things worse. And the outlook that much less certain and that less prosperous. When you recognize all of that and you take the cumulative effect of all these interventions into our social and economic lives, we can't get that back, folks. That shit, it's like I say, billions and billions, ultimately trillions of dollars have been squandered and wasted. And when I think of how many people have to work and toil tirelessly, like how many man hours of work and labor has to go into paying for all this shit. And like I said, I don't even see it being paid off in my lifetime, or especially the lifetime of people who have undertaken or amassed this amount of debt, aka these central planners or these authoritarian hacks, or the people that align or support them. Most of those people aren't going to be paying for any of this. Who's going to be stuck footing the bill are the unborn or people that are so young today that they just had no say in the matter. That alone is so immoral. I don't understand why more and more Canadians aren't outraged and up in arms about the fact that your kids, your grandkids, maybe your great-grandkids are going to be socially and economically enslaved to pay for all of this corruption, interventionism, and wars. Oh, man. And if you think about Afghanistan, let me just tell you, before I start in this article out of the Globe and Mail, just look it up. Hey, I'm not trying to bullshit here. Just look it up. 90%. You might wonder, well, why the hell did we, after 9/11 attacks, why did we end up going to Afghanistan? Well, I guess some of these, the Mujahideen and Osama bin Laden, I guess they did have some bases there. But why the hell? Osama's been dead for years, and most of those people have been pushed out for a long time. Why is the U.S. government, why is the Canadian government, why are all these Western powers still in Afghanistan? Little fact, like I said, just Google search it. If you don't believe me, hey, just Google search it. Find this stuff out for yourself. Up to 90% of the world's opiates, all those prescription opiate drugs that the doctors, the pharmacies, and big government has complete control over, because that's the thing. People can blame your local pot dealer for growing pot, because pot grows in Canada. You can grow pot in Canada, right? But no, there's no opiate fields. There's no big fields of opium growing in Canada or the U.S. No, that's all come from Afghanistan. So if you don't think that government and these central planet hacks didn't intervene in Afghanistan and are still there today, if you don't think any of that has to do with the fact that 90% of the world's opiate comes from that country, well, I don't know what else to tell you, but that is the truth. Anyways, let's get to this headline article out of, like I say, the Globe and Mail under politics. Billions in aid to Afghanistan wasted, including money from Canada, U.S. agency finds. This being reported by Robert Fife, Ottawa Bureau Chief, and Michelle Zilio, Parliamentary Affairs Reporter, Ottawa. Billions of dollars in Western foreign aid to Afghanistan, including from Canada, has been lost to widespread waste, lax oversight, and endemic corruption, a U.S. watchdog agency says. The U.S. Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction said in a report to Congress that aid money has gone to build medical clinics without electricity or water, schools without children, and buildings that literally melted away in the rain, Also, corrupt local officials who were in charge of paying workers with some of the funds created what the audits called ghost workers, civilian bureaucrats, police, and soldiers who did not exist, then kept or diverted money recorded as being paid to them. There's a lot of corruption, but most of what we have identified are just head-smacking stupid programs and really poor managed and no accountability. Nobody is really held accountable for wasting the money, Special Inspector General John Sopka said in an interview with the Globe and Mail. With fiat currencies that's not tied to any tangible commodity, prior to the severance of the gold standard by Richard Nixon, central banks and central governments, they had a real difficult time arbitrarily inflating the money supply without it directly affecting and having a cause-effect correlation with the price of gold and silver. So people realized that you could go into that safe haven of gold and silver when government started stimulating the economy when we were on the gold standard. Or print money, I should say. Nowadays, with all that severed, well, they can print money at basically unprecedented levels. And because it's spread out over not just millions, but now billions of people worldwide. Hey, like I say, if I have to steal $1 billion from one person, that's bad. But if I can steal that $1 billion from 1 billion people and it's only $1 billion each person, well, they're not going to get pissed off if it's only, but they still stole $1 billion without any of our express permission. So once again, this death by 1,000 cuts, this approach that they're using nowadays with fiat currencies, well, yeah, they benefit tremendously at your expense. Unlike the United States, Canada does not independently audit the money it puts into Western trust funds for international aid. But Mr. Sopka said he is certain the problems he identifies for U.S. taxpayers are the same for Canadian taxpayers. Oh, so yeah, all this money that Trudeau and even the Conservatives, the Harper Conservatives before him, and all these other central planning hacks before him, all these billions and billions of dollars of foreign aid, I guess, no accountability. Not even any auditing or accounting, proper accounting practices. So once again, folks, you have to dot every I and cross every T in anything you do, or else you'll be punished. But when it comes to central governments, once again, rule by fiat. Whether it's social policy or economic, that's the world we live in today, folks. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description video below. I don't want to waste too much time delving into it, but Afghanistan, this is just one area, just one country where, like, they're suggesting billions and ultimately trillions of dollars have been squandered and wasted, and the people that are receiving and benefit from it are the most vile and corrupt people on the planet. Whereas you and I, just the average, decent, hardworking Canadian or American, our southern neighbors, we're being screwed over on a constant, ongoing basis. I'm going to say it again, folks. It's really time that we start to stand up and defend our rights, freedoms, and liberties, because without it, just expect more and more of this. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.